Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you a new Jirachi card. And to be perfectly honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, this new Jirachi card has got an ability. It is a very good ability. It is an ability that is really going to help out a whole bunch of decks. Of course, it has been revealed officially on the YouTube channel in Japan. I mean, I say of course, but the ones yesterday were. And of course, it has been translated by the lovely David Hochmann, who is, generally speaking, a translator to whom we will run and ask questions. Not the only one we use, but the most prolific. So, it's got 70 HP. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, 70 HP sucks nowadays. Because by the time this comes out, we're going to have Professor Realm's Lecture. Professor Realm's Lecture, well, that lets you grab 3 Pokemon with 60 HP or less out of your deck and put them into your hand. That's awesome. This has got 70 HP, which means you can't grab it. Small downside, Moltres, which might be a starting Pokemon in fire decks, will not get a one-hit KO because you got 70 HP and a weakness to fire. But that really is a small upside compared to the annoyance of not being able to use Professor Realm's Lecture. In terms of the weakness to fire, it's fine. She's got like 70 HP. Resistance to Psychic is quite nice. It means something like an Espeon GX will be doing naff all. And a retreat cost of 1 is huge here, because you can use a skateboard. And this is a Pokemon that is going to want to use a skateboard. Retreat cost of 1 is phenomenal here. It's so important because it means a skateboard will allow it to retreat for free. There we go. And I suppose being a metal Pokemon does mean you're hitting weakness against stuff like Gardevoir, for instance. Although, given the amount of damage you're doing, maybe it's more prevalent to say, hey, you're hitting weakness against Ralts. Woo! We might mention the attack very briefly at the end. So what do we have here? It's an ability that makes us super happy here. The ability says, once during your turn, if this is your active Pokemon, you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose a trainer card you find there, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle the remaining cards back into your deck, and this Pokemon is now asleep. This is awesome! Now, we'll get to the ability properly in a moment, but I just want to flick back to a skateboard here. When you use this ability, you have to put Jirachi asleep. This isn't some kind of massive thing, right? Jirachi cards deal in sleep. Like, all the time. The most recent Jirachi we had, Jirachi Prism Star. The attack, 10 damage. This Pokemon is now asleep. At the end of your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon will be KO'd. If a Jirachi card doesn't have something to do with sleep, I look at it kind of like, come on, you're not really a Jirachi card, are you? Now, the thing about sleep is you've got a retreat cost of 1, you use a skateboard. This is an ability that only operates when you're in the active. But it is a Pokemon that otherwise does not want to be in the active. So what you really need is to have Jirachi in the active, and there's a bunch of ways to do that, we'll get into them. You want to use the ability, and then you want to retreat Jirachi using a skateboard. You'll be asleep, but that's fine, a skateboard allows you to retreat when you're asleep. You got a retreat cost of 1, a skateboard reduces your retreat cost by 1, meaning you will have free retreat. A skateboard Jirachi here is just an absolute no-brainer combo. I'm just really stressed out that it doesn't have 60 HP, else you could search it with Professor Realm's Lecture. So the ability then, it lets you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and pop a trainer card there into your hand. And it says trainer, not item. So supporter cards like Cynthia will be totally up for grabs here, as well as, well, stadiums. So you might be able to grab something like your Shrine of Punishment. Which is, of course, kind of ironic here, because this is going to be for Shrine of Punishment decks. Now, we looked at Smeargle the other day, and I said with Smeargle, it was a little bit underwhelming. But it basically let you copy a supporter card from your opponent's hand, and I said, look, If you're playing a deck with Shrine of Punishment, you really don't want to play Tapu Lele. And the reason is that Shrine of Punishment puts 1 damage counter on each Pokemon EX and GX between turns. You really don't want 1 damage counter going on your Tapu Lele after your turn, 1 after your opponent's, and so on and so forth. Especially in a Shrine of Punishment mirror match where you're both playing it, where it's much less likely to be field blowered by your opponent. So, you really want to try and make consistent decks without Tapu Lele. And we've been looking at a bunch of decks from the Tokyo Champions League lately, huge tournament in Japan, like 1,300 players, and a lot of them weren't playing Tapu Lele. A lot of that is because of Shrine. Well, this can come in nicely here. As long as you've got a supporter card in the top 5 cards of your deck, you can grab it with Jirachi and you're off and rolling. Now, obviously, there is an issue here in that you can only look at the top 5 cards of your deck. So Tapu Lele, you want a Guzma, grab a Guzma. You want a Cynthia, grab a Cynthia. It's turn 1, you want to grab a Lily to draw into, you get 8 cards in your hand. Draw a Lily, and draw into, you got 8 cards in your hand. Jirachi doesn't offer you that. Okay. But Jirachi is a single prize Pokemon. And also, Jirachi can be grabbed with stuff like Nest Ball. Because one of the sneaky things about the new format, Nest Ball, with Bridget going away, is so much better than it used to be. It's seeing play in much greater numbers, but it doesn't allow you to grab Tapu Lele. And if I'm honest with you, unless you're playing some other basic Pokemon with a coming into playability like Kartana, it's the only downside of Nest Ball. Nest Ball's amazing for grabbing basics, but they go straight to the bench, so coming into playability sucks. For stuff like a Rangaroo, Nest Ball is amazing, and for stuff like Jirachi, Nest Ball will be amazing. So if you take Tapu Lele out your deck and you're playing something like this, you can play stuff like Nest Ball and it becomes so much better. It is wonderful for consistency, but it's not just for supporter cards. You can use it to grab stuff like Ultra Ball, or Nest Ball to grab your Pokemon. One of the things I really love about this is in Stage 2 decks. In Stage 2 decks, you really need your rare candy and you need it as soon as possible. So you play a Cynthia. Maybe you hit the rare candy Stage 2, maybe you don't. So let's say you hit the Stage 2, but you don't hit the candy. What you can do now is play a Nest Ball and get that Jirachi in the active so that you can get the rare candy. Obviously, if you get Jirachi into the active this turn, you won't always be able to retreat, but it's an option. And sometimes with a Stage 2 deck, you don't even need to attack, just getting the Stage 2 this turn will be enough. Now, in terms of getting Jirachi in the active, we've got a few options. Obviously, you can just retreat. Do please bear in mind that if you retreat, you then won't be able to retreat Jirachi out the active because it's 1 retreat per turn. You could just play something like Switch or Escape Rope. Or you could even use Guzma. And quite frankly, I think this is one of the best uses for Jirachi. Yes, it's great for getting that rare candy in a Stage 2 deck. Yes, it's great for getting that supporter. But one of the things I love about Jirachi is just putting it on your bench, and every time you play a Guzma, stick Jirachi in the active, use the ability, and then retreat into the Pokemon you actually want. Or every time you get a Pokemon KO'd, pop Jirachi in the active. There are specific uses like the turn 1 supporter that I love it for, but I think getting it in and out the active will be awkward. What I really love about Jirachi is after a Guzma or a KO, you pop it in the active, so you basically get to use the ability with no downside, just so long as there's an escape board attached to it. And to be blunt, Trainer's Mail was a great card. Don't worry, I hadn't forgotten about Trainer's Mail. Trainer's Mail let you look at the top 4 cards and get a trainer card into your hand. Well, this is the top 5 cards and it's an ability. One of the things that really stopped Trainer's Mail seeing play, before it rotated, was Garbodor. People were playing super fast decks. Garbodor was like, I'm in, boys. And then people were like, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. And that's one of the things that stopped Trainer's Mail seeing play. This is better than Trainer's Mail. It's great turn 1. It's great for stuff like rare candy. But the best use for this is having a copy on your bench with an escape board And then anytime you play a Guzma, anytime you get it KO'd, you get to use this ability and search for whatever you want. And maybe you won't hit it, but maybe you will. I would go as far as to say, in any deck where you're playing a skateboard, you should seriously be considering popping a Jirachi in. Leave it on the bench, whacking a skateboard on, and then anytime your opponent takes a KO, anytime you play a Guzma, you get access to a wonderful ability. And it might be that you desperately need a field blower. So what you can do here is play a Guzma just to get your Jirachi in the active to try and find your field blower. I adore Jirachi. I'm giving it 5 Wassies. And that might be a little bit high, but I just see this as a card that could be teched into so many decks to give that consistency boost. And if you start with this on turn 1, it's wonderful. All right then, ladies and gentlemen. I love Jirachi, but I want to know if you love Jirachi. If only there were a place where you could say whether you loved it or not and why. Oh wait, there totally is. It's the comment section. Go nuts, but do remember the rule. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.